Hi, I'm Carol Hofstas, the chairperson of the Open Space and Recreation Committee, and it's like 6:40, and it's going to call the meeting to order and take a roll call. So Mary Jane,
Present.
Veronica,
Present.
James, and George, and Carol Hofstas present. Okay, the meeting is being tape recorded and I have no additions or deletions. And so for 2.1, we were looking at completing section 8. Veronica Kell's here tonight, Jeff, and she has some info for you.
Great.
So you want to come over here?
Yeah, he won't be able to see the other ones.
Oh, yeah, I'm not touching because I'm one that will mess everything up.
Jeff, this is, I'm backing up. I know we're supposed to be talking about section 8, but section 5, the tables, I went through some of them, mainly because Townsend Conservation Land Trust has merged into North County Land Trust.
I've heard, yes, sir. Yep.
So our properties were transferred towards the end of May.
Okay.
So the things that are TCLT, some of them are Town of Townsend, the wee pieces, the ones that are less than half an acre. So there's 4 of them that went to Town of Townsend, and all the remaining went to North County Land Trust.
Excellent.
So that needs to be updated.
Okay.
There are other properties on there that table 5 needs to be gone through, is what I'm saying.
Yes. So what you see there in section 5 are the old tables. Those are from the last plan. I'm meeting with Vicki Tidman tomorrow morning.
Oh, good.
I don't know if you're interested or available after I meet with her. I'll know more. I can follow up with you
on Monday.
That's fine. Yeah. So
okay.
Monday after I meet with her tomorrow, I'll know more. That's a next step for me, is going through those tables. And George Sullivan also said that he's willing to meet with me. George, I apologize. My meeting with Vicki got pushed back again, but we are meeting tomorrow morning. So after I meet with her, I'll have a chance to go through those tables and any changes that she has that were made since the last plan. And then I'll give it a second go through with you and also with George or the 3 of us together. If you guys think that would be good, it will help me, and we'll look at both the tables and a map. So I think that'll be the next step. So thank you, Veronica, for doing that and bringing that to my attention.
Okay.
If you can put the information that you know in an email for me, and I hate to ask you to do homework tonight, but if it's possible after this meeting, if you can put it together tonight or tomorrow morning and get it to me, it might help when I'm going through things, because if Vicki isn't.
I marked the tables, so I'll just
Perfect.
Scan it in and email it to you.
Excellent.
You can do that pretty easily.
Perfect. That's great. Then I'll have that when I look at things with her tomorrow. That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's good.
Excellent. Check
Now,
that one off. Check box. I like it.
All right. Now, should we talk about section 8?
Sounds good.
I know I missed the last meeting. I didn't know about it, but anyway, and
perfect. No, that's great. That's excellent. That's good information. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So on goal A in section 8, let me.
Can you hear Veronica okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. I have like 3 papers to work from here. This is mine. All right. I had a question about stormwater plans. We're required to have, the town is required to have a stormwater plan. So things like, well, this is actually goal B number 5, reduce or prevent contaminated stormwater from entering waterways. isn't that covered by the town's stormwater plan that we file with the state and are required to keep? So where there's stormwater thingies all the way through here, although it's good, I think it's something that needs to be done. I'm wondering if the open space plan is the place to specify that or not.
Well, I guess that would be a group decision that came, that was a carryover from the previous plan. So that was in there for at least the last version of the plan, maybe the version before. I think it's just reiterating the importance of, making sure that the water quality in the waterways is high. So I think it's a good objective. But you're right, in a regulatory sense, it may be covered other places, whereas here it's just a goal, something to try to, if not enforce, at least make sure people are aware of it. So, maybe reducing or preventing it.
Section 9 lists
Isn't-
all these goals, kind of, sort of. So maybe the thing to do is to leave it in as a goal, and then in section 9, where those things get listed, just put as the responsible person, the highway department and the land use coordinator, because that's pretty much who does the reporting. for
Right.
State stormwater plan in Townsend, so.
Yeah, and I think just in general, it's this is just making a statement that this is an objective that's important to open space to reduce or prevent stormwater from entering waterways. But that you're correct, the regulatory enforcement of it is done at a different, in a different place, and there is a responsible party, so we can, if it does make its way in as an action, we can certainly make sure the responsible party is appropriately assigned. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it will or needs to make it in as an action either. The plan can have goals and objectives that don't necessitate an action. So maybe that's one of them, that it's important to recognize the need for it, but that there may not be a specific action associated with it, or the action may be more of an educational thing because it's handled, like you said, through DEP and whoever is the enforcement in Townsend, if it's the Department of Public Works.
I know we just did some updates through the conservation regulations, and stormwater was called out specifically in that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the other entity that has a hand in protecting, in stormwater and protecting waterways would be the Conservation Commission. Whenever there's any work within 100 feet or any other jurisdictional area of a wetland, then they become a review body for stormwater. So then any order of conditions that's issued, any notice of intent, I should say, that's submitted would typically include stormwater calculations and things like that in it. So in that case, the Concom becomes a review body there too.
Of a certain size, and the planning board actually oversees that, I think.
Yeah, conservation has no jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Dave, Emmy's trying to get on, so I don't know if you're listening, but maybe.
I'm listening, but I don't see her trying to join the meeting.
All right, I told her sign off and sign back on, but
Yep, try that for now.
all right, thank you.
Okay, the other thing I had was goal B, the NRWA plan. The decision of the group might have been to say their current plan. I didn't realize that, but
Yeah.
just the title of the most recent, and they're reviewing it as we speak. I think the review period ends like June 15th. Is NRWA 2023 through 2028 strategic plan. And it's on their website. It's like their first news item.
Now, do we include a copy of that in our plan as part of an appendix?
Or maybe a link to it.
Yeah, we would put a footnote, probably a citation at the bottom of the page, referencing it with a link to it. That's a good idea. We can do that. So can you say the title again? NRWA 2023 to 2028.
Dash 2028 strategic plan.
Great.
It's short, it's maybe 8 pages, and it has like 6 goals.
I think any plan or anything that we reference that has an outside document should have a link or
Yeah,
a direct access to it.
Yeah, I typically do that as a footnote for other plans, and I plan to do it here when I go through it. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll make sure to put a footnote with a web link.
so Jeff, this is like a general question. What's the length of this plan once we submit it to the state? Is it 5 years? Or is it 7 years?
7-year, I believe it's going to be a 7-year update.
So maybe we want to say their current plan. Yeah,
Or reference that and
Or
say,
reference
or
the current plan.
supersede.
Or the superseding plan. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's we can reference the specific plan now, and we can say in future iterations of that plan.
Okay,
Yeah, that works.
that's good. All right, should I keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
You guys
Yeah,
might have already done all this. I don't know.
But you weren't part of it, so
I wasn't.
give your input and
And then, yeah, keep going, Veronica, and
Okay.
then we can,
Goal C is water quality, and it specifies, again, the state, maybe just leave that in, because it is a good thing, anyway. All right, so let's go to D. Number 1, develop 3 village areas. Those are already I would say continue the development of the 3 village areas, because there has been work done on
that has
that.
been for years.
Years, yeah, this was put in place before, a long time ago, actually, with the
Gotcha. I
old,
made a note there. That sounds good.
so
Okay.
continue the development of, and let me see, I don't think I had anything else there. For E, I wrote, and this is a thing that I would love to have, a trail guide, same as the one for the Squanicook River that was mentioned in here in some section. There's, a trail guide for put-ins and this and that. I would want a trail guide for this is provide increased access to state and town-owned lands deemed to hold a conservation value. A trail guide. Is it mentioned anywhere else?
I'm looking for it now because I know it is mentioned, but I'm not sure if I'm looking for it to see if it's in a goal somewhere or if it was just in the needs or another section of the plan, but
It'd be in another section. Anyway.
I'll let's see.
And I think identify and mark bounds of conservation land.
We're working on
So
Thing about that is,
find out.
Veronica, hold that thought. I'll get right back to that one, but I want to handle the one that you just mentioned beforehand, the guide. If you go to goal B, number 10, let me know if that covers it.
hang on. I might have to go to a different document. In section 8.
Section 8, goal B, number
B.
10, objective 10.
That is for a Squanicook River Squanicook River paddling, fishing, hiking, and exploring guidebook. That's different from, because the word Squanicook River is in there.
Yep.
Maybe make it produce a hiking and exploring guidebook, including Squanicook River paddling and fishing. Because when I read this, I thought, oh, that's for trails along the Squanicook. That's how I read that. And maybe that's not what was meant.
Yep. So you're saying that in addition to a Squanicook guide, there should be a general trail guide.
Correct.
Okay.
I know that MRPC put out one, and a lot of us contributed to this, maybe 2019 timeframe. It was before the pandemic, kind of the
Yep.
fall before.
Yep.
And we put in, like I had the GIS, trails for the land trust trails that we had actually marked. And they added that to it for the Aho property and the Meeting House Road one.
Yep. And those maps are still available. I did recommend that that those maps get uploaded so that there's a link from the website. They actually, I think, might already be from the Concom webpage. But one thing that might come out of this plan is a more of a recreation, an open space recreation focused page that has all of that information and things like that. We also talked about the kiosk signs that are up at Adams Dam and a couple of other locations. It would be great to take the digital PDF versions of those signs and make a downloadable map as well. So if you want to go to goal I think that would be the best place to put this objective that you mentioned.
Oh, that's probably a good idea. Yeah.
So I'll put it in there. Can you just give me a quick description again one more time? How would you refer to it, or what would the objective say? I'll put it in as number either 4 or 5 because we created a 4 having to do with the signs and kiosks. We created that at the last meeting.
I don't see that one, but it a trail guide including trails on all conservation land in Townsend.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. I got that. I can add that one in for sure. And I think that's a good one. Okay. Perfect. I have that. Okay. And sorry, I hope you still have your train of thought. What was the next one you were going to after that?
Hang on a second. Where am I? Trail guide. Give me a second. Oh, I just actually James kind of he this was goal E, identify and mark bounds of conservation
No,
land.
it should still be in there. We haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
We just we identified a funding source.
What is
Grant.
the funding source?
There was some grant. I forget which one, but it was up to $20,000.
Is it the land protection grant? The wild and scenic land protection
Might be.
grant? The issue with marking conservation land is the expense. I mean, the land trust, we did a land protection grant this past year. I know because I wrote the report for it today. But anyway, we wanted to do 3 properties. It just gets expensive. We only had to shoot 1 line on HM Stein. That was $2,000. To do the property of West Meadow Road, which we thought was 50 acres. That's what the assessor's map and everything. Actually, the assessor's map and the deed said 50 plus or minus.
Mm-hmm.
If you do the math on the area, it was around 25, 26. And when they did the deed research, the land trust now owns 14.81 acres on West Meadow Road. So it dropped from 50 plus or minus to 14.81.
Mm-hmm.
And then we wanted to do the Greenville Road, and that came in at $20,000 to survey it.
Well, all the
So,
conservation,
It gets really
it's
expensive.
all these little parcels, and they're all wooded, and
Yeah.
we don't have the resources, within the department, but
This is why we need a Community Preservation Act. It really is.
That's a good point. Yeah. So is
it only took Brian, 3 times to get it passed?
No,
are there
early on.
are
Yeah.
They've had it
It took a couple town meetings.
not Groton. Pepperell, I think, yes. Groton's had it almost since the
I'm
inception.
all for it.
It's the, other than having someone staying on top of grants and actually doing the application. It's one of the only ways to get consistent funding for this work. So anyway, same with the develop, that was, where was I at?
You were on E.
E.
Yeah. Veronica, can I kind of a comment and question here? I think that it was a good, identifying that as an objective really makes sense. And, in order to provide access, you should first know where your bounds are, and to prevent encroachment and things like that. I think it's important. So you want to increase access. You want people to know where their land is. And you also want to prevent encroachment from abutting landowners and any improper uses. So I think the boundary marking is really important. I understand your point and fully agree that it's expensive and that can be prohibitive. But I think we should keep it as an objective. And then when it comes to creating the actions, I can work to create an action that makes sense, knowing that you can't in the next 5 to 7 years. It's probably an impossibility to do all of the lands. But would you say there are any lands that are recent, that have a recent survey, that have been acquired recently, or that have a recent survey that might be good candidates to boundary mark first? And can you help to identify some that you think might be, if we were to set an action, are there 2 or 3 that we could focus on that are more feasible to actually get accomplished for boundary marking?
Take that to Jessica.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot. You don't have to answer that right now, but if you want to think about it and maybe get back to me as I start to create the action plan between now and the end of next week, it would be good information to have.
Okay, all right. Just write myself a note on that. What lands for?
Because there's a bunch of postage stamp lots or parcels in Timberley Park.
Yeah, those were kind of kept open.
No, I know, but
Developer,
do we still have to, should we mark those?
there's probably encroachment on many of them. Because people with those small ones, people think, oh, it's open space, I can do anything I want on it, and they do. There are probably sheds on some of those. I don't know, nobody really pays attention.
You want to buy those parcels.
Yeah, so that needs to be, but as far as large parcels go, there are several, the ones that were transferred to the Affordable Housing Trust.
In the conservation, Concom has some large.
Yeah, so all of those large ones should be marked. The postage stamps.
So 5+ acres. You put a number to it, 5, 10.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to. I think that Jeff's suggestion to which ones are important to do first is probably better, because I do want to do them all. And
So
you have to if someone isn't going to purchase and has their shed on it.
I think important and feasible, which are maybe 2 different things. Feasible might be smaller parcels or parcels that were recently acquired that have a recent survey that might be easier to mark than others. And important might be some that are, for whatever reason, it's really important to mark the boundaries. So feasible and important, probably 2 different things. But, you might, if there are some low-hanging fruit or ones that are easier to mark the boundaries on, you might want to start knocking those out first, because as you just mentioned, some of those ones are more susceptible to encroachment, and they would be more cost-effective and easier to boundary mark. So you don't want to create any conflict if there are already encroachments, but you might want to prevent that, in the future, and try to work with property owners to move it back and stay within their property bounds so that those areas can be,
Maybe
you know,
worded as coordinate with land use.
Yeah, coordinate with the land use department.
Yeah.
Whatever.
but think about it. If there's a good action, if there's a one or two properties or three or four that should be marked over the next 5 to 7 years, that would be the action, not everything, because that's just an impossibility. But, all right, that's all I've got on that one.
Okay, going to F. Develop a volunteer coordinator position. Great idea, but how is that funded? That's always the big one. Number 2, continue to improve safe walking and biking around town. Something that needs to be looked at is the Complete Streets program. Townsend did submit to that in like 2016 or 2017. And it needs to be reviewed. And because this safe walking and biking, we could put some of that in there. And things are different now because of the shared streets work that's been done and other things that have, happened in town as far as, good stuff happening to get things marked. So, I mean,
Stuff
we
that
have
can work on too, probably.
we have a Mass Trails grant that I was hoping would be announced June 1st, but hasn't, but the town put in for 160,000 with 50 matching for the sidewalk from the Harbor Church to the other side of the traffic light going east. So we're waiting to hear on that, whether or not we've received that. So things like that have happened, and we need to review Complete Streets, which, if I remember right, did a lot for bike lanes around Proctor Road and the high school. And a little bit in the center of town, which we've already accomplished. For
One thing there, you're absolutely right. I think Townsend did develop a policy and a prioritization plan. So I can review the prioritization plan to see which actions it lays out and what, if any, have already been addressed as part of the shared streets and spaces or any of the other recent work that's been done with the Squanicook River Rail Trail. But I'm sure there are others that are in the Complete Streets prioritization plan that are not related to those two projects. And those might be it would be good if you could do me a favor, if you're somewhat familiar with those needs, and if you could try to review that plan too. And if there are one or two actions within that Complete Streets prioritization plan that makes sense to reiterate in this plan and to encourage the town to move forward on those particular actions, the funding source is there through Complete Streets. It's just the writing the grant. And, that's something that I know is a challenge for every and any town. But I also know that the Complete Streets grants the program is set up in a way to make the grant as easy as possible. There's no such thing as an easy grant, that's for sure. But the Complete Streets program grants are not the most difficult grant to write. I've written one for the city of Gardner a few years back, and MRPC might have capacity to do that, or the town could probably even do it internally now with their GIS capabilities through the water department and the good staff that you do have there, and the maps that are provided and information that you already have in the prioritization plan. The town might be able to do that grant on their own, or work with the RPA or someone else to write that grant for Complete Streets. But it's important, not to forget about that plan, because it's a funding source that's out there, and the money's available to towns if they write the grant and get the award. So I'll look at that, and if you can look at it too and pull out the one or two that you think are most relevant to the open space plan, we can reiterate them as an action.
I think we need to rewrite the Complete Streets plan. That's what I think, but that's me. But I'll look at it and see if there are any. Oh, I had one other thing. For number 2, I think it would be nice to be more specific. Continue to improve safe walking and biking around town. I think we should be more specific on that. Are we doing it to get students to schools? Because that's another one. The
Safe routes.
Safe route.
Safe routes.
is another one that, so if we said, and walking and biking from neighborhoods to the center of town, from neighborhoods to schools, I don't know, we just have this general all out there safe walking and biking.
Well, the safe routes to school, we haven't really done much with that. I met with Jordan once, and the schools are not that eager to do whatever. I know Emmy has done 1 or 2 events with safe routes to school, but we haven't really done a whole lot.
But I
with
think
it.
even those events qualify us for things like striping crosswalks or, those sorts of things for programs.
What about the solar,
The
indicator?
RRFB.
Yeah.
the flashing lighty signs there.
Yeah, maybe those
I
too.
wish they'd put one down by Starlight on
That's a whole
19.
different story.
Well, that is an entirely different story that I'm not even gonna get involved in.
That's something that's something that might be able to be done through Complete Streets. I don't know if it was identified in the Complete Streets plan. I'd have to go back and look. But would it make sense to make that objective more specific by saying continue to improve safe walking and biking around town to provide connections to important public resources and to meet the goals of the Complete Streets and Safe Routes to Schools programs? Something like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think if you just put something general in there, you never get anything done.
Yep.
If you're specific, you get things done.
Yep.
So that's just okay, number 3 in that same goal. Okay, this is my own thing that I want, including a recreation center with a swimming pool.
Oh my God. For work.
Okay.
Where I want it is behind the senior center on that plot of land that nobody's allowed to build on for God knows what reason. But I want it on that plot of land so it's accessible to the schools. It has parking. The senior center is right there. You can
It's all
walk
together.
across the parking lot and
Trails.
everything is right there. So, and that is my thing. I want a swimming pool
Okay.
before I'm dead,
But it's not
which
just,
isn't coming up for another 30 years, but still.
you're not the only one that wants the community center though. And
Yeah.
I mean,
It would be great.
I think we're all agreeable
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's,
Cool, but
if you say including a recreation center with a swimming pool, you
Okay.
might get it. If you just say a recreation center,
You won't get
you're
the
gonna
pool.
get arts and crafts
Yeah.
and a basketball
we're not
court.
doing
So, okay.
that. Needs to be functional.
Okay.
Include the swimming pool.
Sorry.
Did you hear that, Emmy?
Is she
She's
on?
on there.
Hi, guys. Yeah, what?
Did you hear Veronica's idea?
About getting swimming pools? I'm in.
Thank you, Emmy.
See,
I do want swimming pools. I didn't hear the rest of it. I'm sorry, guys. I am trying to listen to as much as I can. I'm also doing new hire employee paperwork with new hires. So I'm really trying to get all of it. James, was it in line with the complex we discussed?
yeah, it just has another area, so we need another, I don't know how many acres, but yeah, it could. It could. It really could. There's no place local for swimming lessons. There's
Yeah.
just so much to it.
And I was a lifeguard in my younger years. And honestly, how many times I get emails from people thinking they're planning on moving here, or people that have just moved here looking for the local swimming hole or swimming pool, expecting out in the country we would have one, and we don't. So yeah, I'm in for a swimming pool. Let's do it.
While we're on this one, so this is under goal F objective 3, the goal that you sent over, Emmy, related to the same thing, building of a recreation complex and listing several objectives.
All
Should
right, give me hold on, give me 2 seconds, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Let's go on to the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Goal G,
You
Jeff.
need to get this done, Indy.
Um,
Having you here.
I don't.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry.
All right, no worries. So you had sent over a goal of building a community recreation complex with several objectives.
Yeah.
That one's directly related to this goal F, objective number 3. Should I move your goal into this, or should I take this objective out of that one because it's important enough to give it its own goal and a series of objectives? Should I create a new goal for this concept?
Community center?
And and combine the objectives, or should the goal that you sent over become an objective, expanding upon objective F3 here? Goal F, objective 3. Should I expand upon that, or should I bring it out into its own goal?
Am I, James?
I think community center should be its own.
I agree.
Okay.
And
So-
Veronica, you will see in what I sent over, it does actually say water feature. In my thing, it does say water feature as part of the complex. I did put that in there. We decided not to define exactly what the water would be, but yes.
Oh, no, I want a 6-lane.
Swimming pool.
25 yard.
I hear ya.
Yeah.
Okay, stand by. All right, I agree, it needs to be its own because
Okay.
there's enough complexities to it and enough reasons behind it that it really needs its own.
Okay, so that will be part of what I'll do is I will work, I will take that objective out of the goal F, and I will work it into the singular unique objective or goal for building of a community recreation complex. That will be listed as following the end. It'll be in here as a new goal with its own set of objectives, and I'll work that in there.
Right, Veronica, go for it.
Okay, on G, this is more of a question for you, Jeff, but in, the fall of 2019, it was right before the pandemic. I think in January, I got the, thumb drive from North County. They did through a grant, they did a study of habitat corridors through all the towns that are part of their regional site. And it included Townsend. In fact, I've got a map here. It identified the properties in Townsend that were important for to build the corridor. And this is all in the town and stuff that they did. But they did an entire study and identified the properties that were important for building to build that corridor. Have you seen that?
Yes, I'm familiar with it. I believe I was actually there at least one or two of those meetings as well.
RPC. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, there was one there, and I think they might have done one at the Leominster Public Library or something. But yeah, I remember that. I've seen their digital maps. I have not seen the specific towns and stuff. So if you have some specific towns and maps that are downloaded or tables that identify parcels, when we meet, we can discuss those and look at those, because that might be something that you could include a table in inventory of lands in section 5. You could identify areas or lands that would be good for making connections, or or it could be referenced in this under, where are we now? G, habitat connectivity. It could be referenced in here, and a more specific action can be generated from the information. So that's kind of that's sometimes it's good to identify areas, but not always good to identify specific parcels. And that depends, I guess, on what the goals are of the overall committee and of the town. If you want to call out specific parcels, or if you just want to identify corridors or areas.
Okay. I don't know what's best there, but I mean, I think they contacted the 10 top properties in Townsend. I think they contacted the landowners.
Okay.
Anyway.
So that's good. We can look at the maps.
Kind of died out with the pandemic, and it hasn't really been picked back up again.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know if you were aware of that.
Yes, I am, and I hold on to that, and let's look at those together when we meet, and we can definitely try to come up with. There's already a lot of focus in here about promoting connectivity. Early on in the conversations in these meetings, that was expressed as something that's important, both with trails but also with habitat. So it would make sense to have an action in there. And if there's an important corridor where you might want to say between this area and that area, between Townsend State Forest and Willard Brook State Forest, or between the Squannacook River and such and such a state forest
areas. A lot of these are based off of wildlife management areas.
Yeah, that's perfect. You can refer to that as an action, without having to specifically call out all of the parcels. But you can even mention that the parcels were mapped and that data exists from the North County Land Trust. So that as a next step, when looking to promote the connection in these corridors, then the information does exist and the maps exist to look into further if the town finds an appropriate grant to do it, or if there's a willing landowner interested in doing that, then you would take that next step. So that sounds good. I think we can
rather do that than.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the right approach, to identify the corridors. And that's similar to the approach other towns have taken nearby in identifying important corridors. For example, Ashby and Ashburnham have identified corridors connecting important features like the Mid-State Trail and Mount Watatic and some of their other areas. So that's in line with what other open space plans try to accomplish, and that would make a good action. So yeah, we can look at those together and try to find the right way to word that, where those corridors are or which features they're intending to connect.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
That's pretty much all I have on 8.
Okay.
I have a lot on 9.
Okay, well, before we even look at 9, so can we make a motion to approve section 8 based on the comments received tonight?
So be it.
One quick question. Is Colby on
No.
the call? Okay. To just be aware, I didn't receive any feedback from goal N, and that's the one related to the climate resiliency goals. I can develop a couple of objectives that are consistent with the MVP plan objectives and goals. But the committee can try to come up with a couple of important ones right now while we're on the call before you vote, while you guys are meeting, because as of right now, that one is the only one that doesn't have anything listed for it.
This is N, climate resiliency.
And yeah, it has to do with sustainable development, climate resiliency.
What have other towns done for that?
Well, let me pull it up right now if I can. I would say that
If another town's got a good idea, why don't we just
we have an MVP plan, and I think that we could mirror goals from that.
That's what I will do. I'll mirror
Okay.
the goals of the MVP plan.
Is it a rewrite?
That way there, we're not coming up with something that is new or hasn't already been, since the MVP plan was publicly supported and part of a public process. I think we'll be okay by incorporating a couple of their goals and objectives and probably one or two actions out of that. But the goal statement is already written, so that's okay. It will, and then we'll just say that, you know, I'll make note here. I just made note and we discussed it. The objectives will come from the MVP plan.
Okay, so you go with us approving section 8, so you before the 4
I think so.
with the car. Okay, so we're all good. Yes, James. You made the motion and George seconded the motion. So we can be done with section 8.
All right.
Roll call vote or you?
Oh, yeah, we have to have a roll call vote. Yes, we do. Here, James,
I vote yes.
Veronica,
I vote yes.
James,
Yes.
and George.
Yes.
Emmy? Are you there, Emmy?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes,
Yes, yes,
yes, yes, yes.
yes, yes, yes. you're
Got
here.
it.
Yes, you're here, and yes, you vote yes.
Yes, I'm voting yes, and yes, I can now hear all the things.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, I'm not even sure. Okay, let's see.
It's 7:20.
What do we have to do with section 9? Jeff? Yes, Jeff. Well,
Sorry, I forgot my mouse at work, and so I'm using the pad on the
Oh, the pad.
laptop.
Yeah,
It takes
I hate
Wait.
the pad.
twice as long.
Yeah.
So for section 9, what was included in the previous draft from May 12th was the, other than the notations, it was the action plan from the previous plan. So now that I have section 8, you've all commented on it and provided really good feedback and good information. I'm going to go ahead and finish putting in today's comments and a couple of the things from the previous meeting that I haven't yet updated into section 8. And then from section 8, we'll then update the important actions that relate to objectives that are now agreed upon or recommended to move forward. So one thing that we can do today with section 9, and that the committee members can do on their own after the meeting today, over the next week between now and the 15th, we can go through this today, and you guys can do it on your own and determine which ones should be removed. Maybe they're no longer important. Maybe they've already been accomplished. It's really important to figure out which actions were actually accomplished or achieved since the last plan. That's something that I have to add once you fill me in on that. I have to add that to a section earlier in the plan, and I need to remove anything that's already been completed. And then the next step is which ones should then stay as they are, because they either were not completed or they're still important and ongoing. So those actions will stay. And then the final thing is to create any new actions that need to be carried over into the action plan. So I guess as a first thing, we can try to run through this and determine which ones should be removed, if there are any that are no longer important or they've already been accomplished. I guess that would be the first step, and it would be good to do that today on the call.
Does everybody have a copy of
I
section?
do. I don't. And I can go through and tell you some that I know are ready to be kicked out.
Well, why don't you
I
do
bet
that?
you could do.
I don't have section 9
Well,
in any of my
It's
huge
in
amounts
the-
of printouts.
It's in the draft plan. It's that
This
was
one?
the full draft. Yeah, it's pages 81 through 90.
Oh, okay, it's the little charts.
Yep, exactly. It's the
Okay,
matrix chart at the very end. Yep.
got it. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Yep. Yep.
I kept seeing 5.2 and I was like, that is not right, but I see that. My own fault for putting 2 pages on 1 page when it's this little.
I know. I do it too.
My bad.
Because we actually talked about a bunch of these, like the water ban.
The water,
It was
yeah,
in the-
number 3 should be removed. Develop water conservation and water ban bylaw. That was adopted in 2016.
Yep. I have that one. Yep.
Okay, so that one's out.
There are
Alright.
some that we already went through, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of these I'll know from the actions. That's one
We
of
haven't
these.
done section 9.
Well, this is, okay. Investigate instituting low salt areas in critical water supply areas. I have no idea if that's been discussed.
They're working on it, but in the action item, it only states state highway department, that it also should say the town,
The town water department.
well, no, the town DPW.
We don't have it.
Well, you know what I mean. What do we call it?
We call it the highway.
The highway
department, The
department.
water department, yeah.
But this is outlining the state highway department. It should also say the town highway.
Well, the responsibles are water department, highway department, select. Yeah, that didn't never happen.
I've talked to Jim about it, so.
Contributing to conservation land fund. We haven't, we did that until about 2017. But it hasn't happened since then. And nobody, it's unclear what the conservation funds are and what their purposes are. I don't know if the Conservation Commission knows, since you're the chair of the Conservation.
We've
Commission.
talked about it.
That needs to be clarified. We used to put 5K every year into this fund.
We talked about it. I don't remember exactly. We can ask Matt.
There were,
Jessica.
there are 2 funds,
But in terms of the, in regards to what the funds are for,
right?
but
Because somewhere in here it talks about forestry. And forestry, in fact, I made a note. Well, we should probably go through little by little.
You want to go through? Okay, where are you, Veronica? On the
I'm on page 81, the first page.
So that one should stay as ongoing. Objective under goal A, objective 6, action A. That one should remain as ongoing.
Make it ongoing, yes.
Okay.
It needs to be picked back up again, but there hasn't been the appetite to do that. I guess is how I'll put it.
Good luck getting that passed through this nowadays.
Okay, yeah, but we put 5K away for that. I don't know what you mean, but still.
Do you want to?
All right,
Tell me, because I don't.
Now,
Maybe George will.
oh, I will. Why not? All right, improve public access for Squanicook River for fishing, canoeing, and picnicking. My comment is here, we did do this with the scenic, Wild and Scenic Grant at Adams Dam. We improved that trail. We
And
improved the parking area
Yep.
and the access to the river there.
So the action item's been completed.
Yeah, the boat ramp at Harbor Pond is in
Beautiful boat ramp.
place.
That's beautiful.
And that was part of the Wild and Scenic, a separate grant.
Yes, it was.
That was done, I think, through the historic.
Squanicook Greenway.
Was it Squanicook
Yep.
Greenway that did that one?
Yeah.
So, number 1 under goal B could be removed.
Yep.
Well, yeah,
And so that's 1A. 1B says improve canoe maneuverability on Squanicook River. That could still be,
so last time they did a cleanup,
it was the summer of
didn't
2016.
they they took too much out.
They didn't. I'm
Either
not
way,
even gonna address it
I'm not
in any
It's
event.
very difficult to do it. There's a lot of trees down, a lot of large trees in very remote areas.
Right,
I don't know if that's feasible.
right.
I'm familiar with that effort, and I've also heard the full story and the really good improvements that it did make. And I'm also familiar with some of the concerns that too much coarse woody debris might have been removed in some areas. So it's a balance, it's a challenge. And I think there was a video done by Russ Cohen and Mass Wildlife that talked about the benefits and importance of both sides and how to do it and maintain it in a with a kind of like a best management type scenario and practices. I've seen the YouTube video, I saved it. So it in a sense that goal was accomplished. So it could be removed, or if there's thought that it's an ongoing or needs to be continue, then it could stay on as become an ongoing. But I know that the initial intent there for B from the 2012 to 2013 range, that was accomplished in that 2016 effort. So do you guys suggest removing it or changing it to be an ongoing or continual type thing?
I don't know the best thing there. I would remove it, I think. Improve beach areas for swimming. I would remove that and concentrate on
We
a
talked
community
about
center.
removing it
Yeah,
in the a previous section.
yeah, okay, so I would move to then.
I like your thinking, Veronica. Concentrate on the senior center,
Um,
in the community center.
And number 3, we should look at the land abutting Squanicook River. There's been a lot done to protect the lands. It says continue contributions to the Conservation Land Fund, which is ongoing at town meetings to find strategic land parcel purchase. Fish and Wildlife has done an awful lot of purchasing along the river. There are still properties that are not protected, but the only way to do that is we need CPA. Secure interest in land, this is B, secure interest in land as well as conservation and agricultural restrictions or development rights. I might remove A, but keep B. What town doesn't do well is take advantage of what's available in the agricultural space.
A
And
lot
there
of that has to
are-
do with,
Not being prime farming.
but well, a lot of it has to do with a lot of these landowners don't know that you don't have to sell the land, but you put it in ag restriction or conservation restriction.
Right. That hasn't been well established. So I
Is
would
there-
keep
Quick question, is there an ag commission in Townsend? I was looking under the list of boards and commissions and I didn't see one.
it is defunct. It's in the general bylaws. It's stated as being a commission, but it is defunct and has been for at least 5 years, if not longer.
How
Okay.
you can tell me after.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, would that be a good action or goal to include, trying to reestablish that commission or committee?
Well, it's farther down in here and
Okay,
it's in here somewhere.
okay,
Notes about that.
okay,
All right.
sorry, carry on.
But I think B is a good thing to keep. Just, I'm not sure whether it's next to protect land abutting Squanicook River, which we still want to do. So anyway,
They might both stay as ongoing, but I might make a note earlier in the plan where it talks about achievements since the last plan. I'll make note that the state has acquired, since the previous plan, the state has acquired multiple parcels abutting the Squanicook River. I'll list that as an accomplishment because I know there's a good handful that they did acquire in the 2013, 2014 time period, right after that plan was written.
and I also want to mention that the town does get pilots from the state for all the conservation land that the state owns. It's to the tune of $300,000 to $450,000 a year that comes into the town based on whatever the state is giving. So it's not like it's land that it is tax-free, but the state does pay pilots. So, just so people know that. All right. Number 4, protect Squanicook from excessive road salt and sand.
Should that be combined? I know it says it, I know you have
I think
notes.
this one is, I have Seagolet. I think that maybe we want an A and a B where we do it. One is because of the state along 119. And I read this one as being the other parts of the Squanicook that aren't
I don't think it should just be the Squanicook. I think it should be
all
all
waterways.
waterways,
Okay, we can do that.
because there could be a stream, all of it.
So,
Chlorides they're good, but they need to be managed.
so what is goal A versus goal B? What are the words? High quality drinking water versus quality of the Squanicook River and its tributaries. So maybe we want to keep this here,
Okay.
but expand it the way James said.
It really should stay,
Be all waterways, not just the,
we should look at it like New Hampshire does and like Minnesota does.
yeah. I think that's a good idea. And 5 is related. Prevent contaminated stormwater. I think when this was all originally written, the state hadn't yet required the towns to do stormwater plans for themselves. That's what I think. I'm not certain. But somehow I think that's the case.
Yeah, is anybody aware of any areas where this is a problem? And it might be, as an action here, it might be better to specify if there are 1 or 2 areas that are of real concern on a particular stretch of road or at a particular bridge crossing or something like that.
The MVP plan spells some of that out. I remember one is up on Tyler Road, the dip in Meadow Road where it's low.
Right at my house on Turnpike.
There are other places that were specified in the MVP plan.
But those are specific, but it should be overall, because
Yeah,
someone might not be on town water, they could be on a well. If the well's too close to the road,
yeah.
I forget how many.
We were also.
True.
I forget how many wells the state of New Hampshire replaces a year due to chloride poisoning, but it's a
They do.
budget item.
Yeah, and when MVP was looking at it, we were looking at places where maybe we need to raise the road or add a culvert or,
Mhm.
because of, flooding and that sort of thing. So we were looking at it for a different reason than water quality.
So what I'm going to do within the action, because the MVP plan is new, so that would be the necessary thing to get in here and update. Because in here it says review planning board and Concom regs to ensure LID techniques are evaluated by developers. I'm going to add to that and continue to pursue the actions within the MVP plan to this regard, right?
That sounds good, yeah.
Okay.
Keep rivers clear of trash and debris. And encourage and develop stream cleanup teams.
Real thing, and I can tell you a story outside of here. It's scary.
Should we keep this
I think we should,
Okay.
because it's an ongoing.
thing? Yes. We applied twice for an MVP grant to do, so I'm moving on to. No, I'm not moving. I'm going backwards here. This protect private wells from contamination and drawdown. We applied twice. This is goal A number 1 through the MVP plan. And we were denied both times to study private wells and to just get some sort of sense of the private wells in town and how healthy they were.
So with the newest concerns with PFAS and contamination to that regard, and the grant that was written and I think has been received to put treatment at one of the wells in town, should maybe I just keep that as ongoing, change it from the time frame to ongoing?
Yeah, Yeah, and it is a goal in the MVP plan. So maybe reference that plan as well. I don't know. That was backing up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's a good one. I'll do that. I'll reference the MVP and I'll put it as ongoing.
Okay. Number 7, under goal B, I just circled the 2020 plan, the NRWA 2020 plan. I would keep that one though. Do you know, does the town still join NRWA? The Conservation Commission used to always do it way back. I don't know if they
I
do.
haven't seen anything but what we should,
Yeah,
or at least, yeah.
we were always a member of NRWA. Anyway,
Well, no,
I would keep 7.
Okay.
Number 1 under goal C, and I'm moving forward.
Keep going.
Goal C, number 1, remove and or reduce invasive species from waters of Townsend. I have current wild and scenic grants.
Should that be waters or should that be remove waters and should invasive species, reduce invasive species? Remove.
Period.
Yeah,
Yeah, this one under goal C has to do with protecting quality of all surface waters and wetlands. So if for this one, but if there isn't, when we get later down in the plan, if there isn't one, we should certainly work one in for land and roadways, because I agree.
in a different section, in a prior section, so it was discussed.
Yeah, yeah. It's in the goals and objectives, so we can create, if there's not an action as we work through, we can create an action for that for sure.
Hey, Ronnie,
Yeah.
quick question. We did some of that work when we were looking at the Adams Dam parking area because of that Japanese
No, we,
whatever, knotweed. We never got a resolution on that though, did we?
But no, we didn't. However, the Conservation Commission wrote for an invasive species, a grant to have someone come in and
do a workshop.
do a workshop for town employees on, I think it's up on the website right now.
It's open
next
to,
week.
it's open to anyone.
Anyone from town or a town employee, anybody can go to it. And it's next week or the week after, might be.
Next, yeah, they got it rescheduled for next week.
Anyway, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So there's work being done on that, and we did remove from along the headwaters of the Squanicook there at Squanicook Meadows. We removed Japanese
You guys went
knotweed.
down there?
Oh yeah, it was
Down the road.
removed, and it and put down the mesh and cut, and it's being actively removed.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
as we speak. So I
It's
know that
ongoing,
it's ongoing. So there has been progress on that.
but there needs to be more
More.
education also, and
Mhm.
how do we educate people? And it's a rhetorical question, but it should be ongoing. All the invasive stuff for all of this
Yeah,
work should be ongoing.
right. So Jeff, maybe just make this ongoing.
The whole goal C.
Mhm.
Yep. I made some notes about it. I'll be able to include some stuff on accomplishments since the last plan, and then I'll convert those to ongoing, and I'll change some of the wording to be less specific to only Harbor Pond, but more to all water bodies and waterways throughout town.
Right. Goal D. I'm ready to roll on goal D.
Go on.
Is that okay?
So can I real quick on this one? The
Yeah.
first one, A, says inventory surface areas. Was a full inventory conducted? And so should that one be removed, and should it be combined more into an expanded version of B for the ongoing? Or is there still a need for more inventory?
Well, what we've been doing, at least what I see, is when we see it, we address it. I know
Okay,
there's some at the library that needs to be removed.
so I'm going to say monitoring. Because an initial inventory and an initial understanding of where the problem areas are maybe has already been done. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Like Mighty's, at Ash Swamp. And that was 2014 to 2016 roughly. I don't know if anybody's inventoried it since that was.
Okay. So I'm going to change I'm just going to put inventory and monitor surface areas, because if some of them have been some removal done, they should continue to monitor for progress and success. Okay. Perfect.
So
They're
there
both on.
was and is work going on with all of this.
Yep. Great. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
I know Swamp Brook Greenways continues to work on that.
Right.
So
Yeah. So it's, all right, so goal D, retain the natural character and natural heritage of town.
you have any input, George?
No, you're doing well.
Jump in anytime. Sorry, this is just,
No,
All
I
right.
always do that to George.
number one is continue to develop the 3 village areas and then develop replanting and maintenance plan for the town common to preserve its character. This is kind of ongoing right now with the current RFPs that are out there for the town buildings, for the work that the Historical Society is doing, for the work that the town is doing on the gazebo. You know, all of this
So
needs to be rethought with the work that's ongoing and what we need to do going
do you
forward.
think the first objective is accurate? Because it's already been done.
Yeah. Has parking been achieved, or is there still a need for more?
It's still an
Sorry,
issue.
Just the objective, you have number one, develop 3 village areas in this 3 historic districts. Is that the right title to the objective?
I think it is. I
Okay.
think it's okay.
I'm going to say, should I say continue to improve the 3 village districts?
That would be good. Continue to improve.
they're
That
already
might be good.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're already in place.
right. And then, we're parking. I mean, I know that Eric Cycle just applied for a Community One Stop, through Community One Stop, for the Rural Action Grant or whatever it's called,
Mhm.
for the parking area behind Town Hall, where
Mhm.
we update that and updates to the Jeff Street parking area to allow for more parking here in the center, which is a historic district. He's also looking at parking across the way in partnership with the Methodist Church to, instead of doing parallel parking there, do head-on spaces. You know, so you angle in to park there, so you can get more cars to take parking off of Route 119. We've done a lot of talking about parking, at least in the center, not so much at the harbor. But there isn't a lot of town-owned land at the harbor. That's more the historical society.
Right.
So, Veronica, do you think that a good time frame, if they're already currently working on a grant and focusing on parking, should that be maybe, so in the last plan, it gave it a 4-year time frame. Should we say that the new time frame is maybe a 3 or 4-year time frame again from 2023 to 26 or 27?
Yes.
Okay. Should I narrow it to 3 years because it's starting now and they're writing some grants? Or do you think realistically it's really is a 4-year, 4 out of the 7 years to get this accomplished?
Three should, yeah, three
Okay.
should, because things are in play already. And
I'm going
then-
to say 23 to 27. And it's fair. Again, this is just a vision plan. It's not they're not required to meet that, but it's a good target.
And the investigate grants for access kiosk redevelopment of historic areas. I mean, this is all in play. I don't know the best way to write it, but it is all in play right
So
now.
ongoing.
Maybe 23 to 24 on that one. It's a shorter term. And the town has shown a proof of concept with the shared streets and spaces with those great signs. I mean, and the kiosks. So it's been shown that that's something that can be done with a little bit of money. Do you think putting that as a 2-year, 23, 24 is realistic?
Make it 3.
23, 25
You have to have, I know that, yeah,
or 26. Sorry, I'm going to put 23 to 26.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Replanting and maintenance plan for the town common. We heard that that's ongoing right now and underway.
This replacement of trees, town road right of ways for areas needing replacement trees. I don't know that that ever happened. You know, I think it's more of a keep the town looking nice.
Well, but there's some
Kind of thing.
older trees that might need to be identified by the arborist.
And the thing is replaced, and if it's within the town right of way, those are the ones that are also in the utility right of way, and they get cut with,
We call it the ask one haircut.
yes.
Yeah, that's where a plan might help, I guess. The right tree in the right place, and looking at smaller stature trees like dogwoods or
This is where there are.
service berries, shad bush, things like that that can grow under the power lines and not impact them.
You need to get a grant to bury the power lines. Then you can put all the.
Yeah, that's what we need.
That'd be great.
Good luck.
It's a bummer that's such an expensive endeavor because it looks so much better and it's better for storms. Yeah, that's something to pursue in new development for sure. But to try to do it at a large scale is expensive.
We had it up in Canada. It's totally worth the money.
Oh, I agree. 100%. I agree. You're right. It is. Yep.
Bury, number 3, bury utility lines in town with an eye to historic district. I wrote, is this happening with the ongoing work right now?
Well,
And,
no, we didn't, well, we haven't gotten the full plan yet. So,
okay.
That would be nice. So.
it would be,
Yeah.
I mean, if they're gonna open up the ground for solar, they might as well
Yeah, bury
bury
the
everything
lines,
else.
bury everything while they have the whole.
The next one,
It's not that easy.
So
It's
Can-
not-
can we jump back to the tree plan? Do we want to give that a time frame? Is that still a worthy goal?
That's ongoing because
Yep.
they die. You know, they might be healthy this year. They might be,
Come down and
die, get
install.
struck by lightning, come
Right,
down,
right.
snowstorm, Unitil link come through.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Okay. And then then the next one we're jumping down. This is a big picture one, but it is a worthy one if the money is there and anybody sees if somebody can fund it, it's worthy.
Sorry, guys. Can we back to that number 2 again? I just want to be sure that we're not stuck on the action part of the actual objective, because the objective is developing a replanting and maintenance plan. So we want to keep an eye to the trees, yes, obviously, but are we saying that in those ongoing, we're actually developing a plan?
Yeah, I know. I was curious too. That's what I mean.
That's-
So
That's different than us being like, well, we do this anyway, where, it's an ongoing thing with the warden. And like James said, yeah, trees die, they get cut down, we plant something else, whatever. But this is actually calling for a plan to be developed.
And it's great for the town common specifically,
Right.
not for all the town roads and
I
right
think
ways.
there might be a need for an additional action in here because the work with the town common I heard is being done right now. They're trying to replant that area. Is that true?
They're redoing
Yeah,
the gazebo. I don't know what's gonna happen with
I don't
planting. I don't think anything.
Okay.
Here at Streets, we got rid of the old benches and picnic tables,
A couple
and
years ago, you guys did the sidewalks.
the sidewalks were done a couple years ago. So, yeah, I don't know that there's a plan in place.
So should it be two actions here? One action to develop a townwide tree plan, kind of a right tree, right place type of plan, And then should a second one be to consider to develop landscape plans for the town common and historic districts?
I think those sound good. It's a little ambitious for
I
that.
think it's
It
really
is
good.
ambitious
I
for
think
a
we should
town,
focus on the town common.
and the historic areas,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is what Jeff said. And then take out the other one, because I don't think that's gonna happen. Hasn't happened yet, not gonna happen.
It could be an MVP, but I don't know how it's if it's in the plan or not. But develop landscape plan for town, common, and historic districts. Okay.
Um, replanting and maintenance plan.
And
That's
a time frame, is that something that maybe could take a year or two, 25, 26, or is it less important and be 26, 27, or is it something that should be 23 to 25 or 23 to 26?
It should be 24 to 27.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree.
I don't think it's of like the utmost importance, and I mean, it's important, but we have other things that are higher on the priority list. My other thought on that though is, again, we're just talking about creating a plan, developing a plan. We're not actually talking about doing it. So
Right.
that's something to think about when we're thinking about these timelines, when it's saying develop a plan or research something. We're not actually talking about doing anything with the information. That's what the action's supposed to be. So if the action is just develop the plan, then all we're doing is just developing a plan. And we would address the actual, fulfillment of that plan afterwards or going forward.
That's gonna be-
$50 to $100,000 to do that, but
No, not to do the plan. The plan will be
you're gonna need
20K.
a landscape architect to come out and do all that.
Yeah, I don't.
George could do it.
No, I'm not doing it.
Operating budget.
No, that's for the rec center.
No.
Yeah, a garden club, even a gardening club or some other volunteer group could do it, but it's the difference in the level of what you're thinking of as a plan. So I guess we keep it pretty general or vague so that you're not committing to having a landscape architect develop a plan, because that could be highly expensive and an intensive plan. Whereas this might just be something where a local landscape or gardening group might want to identify areas where they can put in small planting beds or flower boxes to update the new, the gazebo project. Maybe try to something that can go hand in hand with that or something like that. So I'll keep it vague in general. I won't specify a signed stamp landscape engineer plan or a landscape design or landscape architect. I'll just keep it general.
All right. Now we're moving to burying the utility lines.
That,
I mean,
no,
kind of
so
out of our.
I think it should just stay on forever and ever and ever until it gets done.
Yeah,
You could do, you never know, you maybe
so now,
here's Air Force Base when Johnson was president, Lady Bird Johnson had this whole Beautify America thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they got money from the federal government, and all of Hanscom Air Force Base buried all of their utility lines.
So
There's not
should
one
that-
utility line.
would that be broken up to new developments
And they
and
planted
then
trees,
historic
dogwood
districts?
trees.
So it's,
Yeah, no, I
Right.
yeah, it's real
And it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah, like an avenue.
Yeah,
because I don't remember.
I mean, when they had lots of money,
people
they
don't.
they had
typically
flowers
bury.
everywhere.
Unless it's going
Years
from
went
the
on,
street to
I've
their
worked there like 24 years.
And it's an individual. It's not
Went away,
a
window.
subdivision.
Well, no, the trees, they still take care of the trees,
It
but
depends.
they used to have
Yeah.
at the gates, the
Yeah, yeah,
gates and around the buildings and everything, they had beautiful flowers, but
I don't think
you
they're
know, a
required.
lot of that's gone.
I don't know that.
Carol, I just found that after the last meeting when I was looking up, because we had that little conversation about beautification and beautify and everything, and I was looking up some information and following up on that, and I saw that the story about Lady Bird Johnson taking that on as her special project during those years. So that's an interesting part of history I didn't know about. I just learned about that recently too.
Because I worked at the base for forever, and I saw all of those, all those poles buried and the base is beautiful.
Neat. So that one I'm gonna put as a 23 to 2030, really like the full length of the plan. Or I can just list it as ongoing, whatever you guys think, because that's not anything that's gonna happen quickly.
That's not
Do
even
we wanna
realistic.
ask them to separate it between historic and also new development?
Did you hear Jeff?
Well, new
Yes.
underground.
Because it makes sense for new development if we make that as part, because part of the other stuff we were saying about new development is having regulations for
Everything else is
else, so-
underground, and Harbor Trace is underground.
Not all, though. I don't think it's a requirement.
You know,
maybe it should be.
I'm not gonna argue with George.
Okay,
Maybe it should be for developments. I don't know. But maybe, again, maybe that's part of, if we're investigating the regulations through something else for new development, why aren't we doing it for this at the same time? There was
Yeah.
some other one that we were looking at new developments, investigations of new, for new developments and making sure that they stick with those regulations, or we create regulations that promote that. So maybe we do the same here.
it must be in the regulation, because I'm a new development within Timberley Park, and Timberley Park's all overhead, and my street is all underground.
It's in the subdivision rules.
okay.
There you go.
There you go, let's keep going.
Yeah.
All right,
Right.
protect vernal pools as important wildlife habitat. Certify all pools located on public property and on private property with permission.
I'm just thinking, nah.
And Friends of Willard Brook no longer exists. Purchase strategic parcels containing potential and certified vernal pools, or consider conservation restrictions, agricultural restrictions, interest in land, easements, purchase of development rights.
Part of, maybe another action item should be education.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I will tell you that putting 5,000 a year into the conservation land fund will never provide enough money.
No.
You see how much they sold 3.5 acres for up on Bayberry Hill?
No,
200.
So those are sort of big picture habitat type things, and
yeah,
to meet that natural heritage, natural character. I mean, those are big picture ongoing ones that even from one plan to the next, they may never get accomplished, but a goal to strive for, and protecting habitat, I guess, just keep them as ongoing.
same with number 5, protect and maintain agricultural land. Which one?
Okay.
Is that under there?
CPA is not here. Yeah, we should put in funding source, CPA, for anywhere where conservation land fund is.
But,
Yeah.
but getting it passed, educating people to get them to understand it.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna
that's-
be working on this all summer and fall, because it's coming back at Fall Town Meeting. There's no way that this town can afford with taxes to do the things that are in these plans.
You and I could go back and
We
yeah,
can.
no, I know it's,
We can't,
and you mentioned taxes and everyone puckers up and gets all angry.
but it's not a tax, it's a fee.
I know.
It's a very small fee. All right, form an agricultural commission. Well, that was done, but it's not been seated. Just the same as our Commission on Disabilities. It was formed, but never seated. So this was done, and consider a farmer's market. I thought we were gonna have one starting on
Oh, yeah,
Fridays.
we are. Okay.
Can we
Yeah.
also talk
At the
about,
common.
Yeah.
for the community center,
Oh, then
having
we have to-
an area for it,
Right, community garden.
and community gardens and.
Yep, I think it's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that was part of, I can't hear a lot. It's kind of muted for me, but I know when we were talking about doing a community center, was enacting a space that could be ongoing for gardening, like co-op as well as farmers markets, again, ongoing.
So I would take out form an agricultural commission and consider a farmer's market, because we don't have that.
But can we
I mean, we already
Hey.
have that.
so we just need to get volunteers for the ag commission.
Yes. It's formed. It is formed. All right.
So I'm gonna change it from form to convene.
Okay, that sounds good.
And I'm gonna take out the farmer's market one only because I heard that there is I heard that they might be holding one, starting this summer.
Yes.
So it's gonna be sort of, that's happening. So I'm gonna take that out. But we could put in another, continue to promote, well, no, that's not strong enough wording, I guess, for an action. We do have one in the goals to promote farmers markets and involvement with 4-H and things like that. That was established, one of the goals we talked about at the last meeting. So should there be an action related to, to farmers markets or a co-op or a CSA or anything like that?
No, that's why we're convening an agricultural committee, so that
There
they.
you go. Perfect. Absolutely right. There you go. That would be something they would take on. Yep. Okay, good.
So you
There's no need to it.
have your form and I will at the same time.
What? I can't, I'm sorry, I can't.
I'll submit my volunteer form if you do.
Okay. Oh, I'm volunteering my husband to do it. I have a black thumb. I kill everything that I try and grow, but I'm going to tell Dan to do it. Sound good,
Yeah.
James?
I think that's the good action. We changed that from form since that was accomplished. If anybody knows the year that was it put into the bylaws, let me know, or I'll try to follow up on it and find it. But if you know of it or approximate year, let me know, and I'll change the action to convene from form, and that's perfect.
So number 6 is ensure pride of place.
So is this, I mean, this one is this pretty committee. Like, should that just be part of this agricultural committee that James and my husband are going to convene?
No, because it's something.
This could plant flowers in the planters that we got from
Oh,
Shared
sure.
Streets.
Yeah.
I have this goes right.
Don't we have businesses sponsored to do that for most part? Well, we don't have it for the new planters yet, but don't businesses sponsor their own the various planters we have around town?
Yeah, right on the common, there's that row.
Yeah, I think McNabb's and maybe Evans does this.
I think the
There's signs on all.
town business committee, yeah.
Maybe so. I don't know.
They
I really
used to-
don't.
So quick, I'm gonna offer a suggestion here, or at least something for you guys to think about. This is the same one that I followed up on after the last meeting, because we went back and forth with kind of, what is beautification? What is a pretty committee? What does that mean? Instead of a committee, because, every town has its share of committees and commissions, and getting volunteers to sit on those can sometimes be a challenge. Would this action be better suited as more of a kind of a volunteer effort through a local chapter of like the Make Massachusetts Beautiful, a local chapter of that? Several towns have established those, and they do things like planting and litter pickups and things like that. And it's an established organization, so it wouldn't have to be done through the town. It would just be something that would be encouraged as part of this plan, to encourage the establishment of a local chapter of the, I think it's called Make Massachusetts Beautiful. It's under the Make America Beautiful campaign organization.
That could actually be really good, because we have a lot of teen groups and stuff too. They're always looking for that sort of thing, and we don't actually have a lot of that kind of volunteer where you don't have to have specialized skills or big education behind it or something like that, or a lot of hours behind. But it might be a good thing to start working on that stewardship that we keep talking about, Veronica, for our upcoming youth.
Yeah, and there's some examples on the webpage of the local chapters. There are several towns. I know Ashby was one of them. I think Ashburnham has a chapter. Gardner did. I don't know if it's still active. And then I think some of the towns, I don't want to say for sure, but it might have been just east maybe. It might have been like Groton or Littleton and Air. There were a few other towns in the Neshoba and in the Montechusett region that had established local chapters. So the organization and the structure of it is already there, and you've got local chapters to look to for advice if there's someone who wants to do that, and it's perfect for youth too. So yeah, I'll configure an action related to that, recommending that the community establish this and form a local chapter.
What were you saying, Carol?
Oh, no.
Okay. I looked up the Agricultural Commission. It was adopted at the annual town meeting on 5/7/2013.
2015,
2013.
2013. May 2013. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Veronica. Did you find that in the town annual report or the actual
E-code.
E-code? Okay, in the bylaw. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay. Should we move on to goal E?
I didn't have anything in Goldie. I didn't write a single thing.
Terrific, that's fine.
So the first one, increasing access to Harbor Pond, I think that might have, is that completely achieved, or are there other areas where access could be improved?
There's still a parking challenge.
But well,
No, I know they're working on it.
it kind of fits with the parking challenge at the historic district.
There you go.
It's part of that whole thing.
Yeah, I don't think we need a separate one under this.
Yeah,
this
I'm gonna remove it, and I've already made a comment. I'm gonna make note earlier in the plan of the boat launch that was put in, and that it was something that was accomplished. That was really recent, correct? Does anybody know? Is that like 2022, 2023?
22.
2022. Awesome, thank you. Okay, I got that. Publicized trails and parking, that's going to be ongoing, correct? Maintaining access points is probably ongoing.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving right along. Goal, let's see.
Number 1, F,
Goal
I
F.
need money. Under goal F,
Oh.
number 1, develop the volunteer coordinator position.
Yeah, again, creating a new position is never an easy thing. Budget.
I don't know about this one.
Is it a need still? I mean, are there a lot of volunteers that are waiting for direction? Lining up and waiting for direction? Someone to
No
coordinate them?
volunteers, first of all. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
No.
Yeah, so if it's not realistically going to happen because it's not already being discussed as something that's in the budget, and if there's not a real need for it, and if I've seen examples of other really good volunteer efforts being done throughout town with things like the Squanicook Rail Trail and things like that. So if it's not something that's feasible or realistic and no movement or momentum happened on it since the last plan, then maybe it could be removed until it becomes a real need again.
Let's take it out.
That's my take on it.
Okay. I'll do that because it seems to make sense. But I almost feel like I have to say that it's not to discourage volunteers in any way because it's so important, and a lot of the great things that get done are because of volunteers. So for the record, continue to be good volunteers and stewards and much needed. But we'll cross out the volunteer coordinator position for now. All right.
Okay, for objective number 2, under action, remove B and C. Those are done. And then where it says number 2, the objective is improve safe walking and biking around town. This is make that goal to match whatever you said when we talked about this in number 8.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of those.
Yeah, a lot of redundancy.
And then encourage the state to install sidewalks on their own. I don't know, this whole thing. I would put something about the complete streets in here, you know,
Right.
things of that sort.
All right, let's tackle one at a time. Let's go back up now. So we have objective 2, improving safe walking and biking. The first action, encourage state to install sidewalks from Route 19, from the high school to the town center. I took a look on Google Maps and Street View, and there were a couple of it looked like intersection and new curb work done, maybe with the new school, but no sidewalks along that whole stretch.
I think the action plans should just be to further develop and work on the complete streets and the safe routes to schools, because they already have plans in place.
Yep.
You just have to work those plans.
With the rail trail, you do not need that sidewalk, except in the part that we applied for Mass.
Right.
Ah, true. Good
And not
point.
for the rail trail.
Okay, so we're gonna so remove A.
Take them off the street and.
Encourage development of rail trail at no cost to the town. Keep that one. Continued, and I'm going to put continued development.
You can do through the shopping center because it's right at the back end, so.
Yeah. Anyway. I would change this, Jeff, to whatever we talked about earlier when we were talking about improving safe walking and biking, and make the action, whatever we said there about complete streets.
Okay. So the action is continue to implement complete streets and safe routes to schools programs.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 3, I think we can keep 3, evaluate town properties for recreation suitability opportunities, including a recreation center. Beef that up, change A and B to whatever the goals are now.
Yep. James, we really want that complex, and Ronnie, we're going to get you a pool.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No, Ronnie, you gotta help us here.
All right. So 3A, investigate existing facilities for upgrading and refurbishing. Is that still needed, or do we want to shift the entire focus to a new facility that can accommodate all activities?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Focus.
So get rid of A and kind of get rid of B, because that's still a concern. Is that the Squanicook Meadows site that was referred to there?
Oh, we're putting a CR on that? Yes, it is. That's what they're talking about.
No, that's where we're at. I'm just stuck on senior center.
Yeah, no, this is, we've done that work already.
You have.
It's in progress. NHESP has weighed in. We have the CR template from them. I gave, before I left my selectman seat, I sent everything to Eric as far as wording and recommendations went. And hopefully that CR is going to get done. We have a new lease that renews every 3 years, I believe it is.
Yeah.
We defined the area in the lease that is the soccer, under soccer control. So.
We need to adjust it up.
So should I change the action to continue to pursue or finalize CR to define area for soccer versus conservation at the Squanicook Meadows site?
Yeah, but I don't know that I'd even get that specific here. I think
Right.
I would keep it with what Emmy was saying and, everybody about a recreation center and a community center and focus on the new stuff.
Yeah. If we have,
Focus on the old stuff.
Yeah.
right, if we've got something in progress that is, like, it's not necessarily ongoing, once it's finished, there's no reason for it to go into this plan going forward.
Okay, cool.
Teza, well, we're trying to raise money just to add to the fields.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know. I think we need to,
If we need-
Okay, so that is going to be where the action item goes for developing the new center. So should we make two actions, identify a site and then develop the complex?
well, I put update for the second one.
I put that in whatever it was that I sent you, didn't I?
Yeah, exactly.
We wanted to allocate capital and we wanted to do a build committee with exploring and developing an implementation. Because realistically, would it be amazing to have the whole thing done, including our water feature, in 7 years? Yes. Realistically,
Probably not. You're probably looking at 10 years.
right. So I'm saying we need to at least get those top ones on, because we have, whatever it was that I sent you, we sort of went through those objectives and the actions that needed to happen
Yeah,
in order for it to go forwards.
I have it right here, so let me just take a quick peek. We have. So the first action would be creating a committee to identify the site and the feasibility of doing it and generate a sort of conceptual plan for making it happen. And then the next one would be the next action would be identifying a funding source. And then the third would be pursuing the purchase and development of the site. Does that make sense? That sound like 3 good actions?
Got that, James? Yeah?
Yeah. 10 years. 10 years, or not.
Yeah. I'd like it to be much sooner than that.
Mine too old is gone.
Yeah, I know. I honestly, again, realistically, how far and fast we can push is going to just be up to us. But it has to be in the plan for a timeline, and it's not ongoing. We need to give some sort of deadline for at least getting this, getting this land, getting it developed. Because we did a segment for add-ons, like, okay, yeah, we'll continue to develop this. Keep it going, but we want to get this complex in place. We want to, get it built and get it going,
So I
period. So,
something within 12 to 18 months.
I would say put the committee together
in
in a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of the library and how long it took to get a new library built in this town.
So how long in?
My son, I told him to meet me at the library and I was waiting for him for 20 minutes and I finally called him and said, "Where are you at?" He said, "Where are you at?" And I said, "I'm at the library." He said, "No, I'm at the library." He went to the old library.
But how long did it take for that concept for the library and the senior center to be brainstormed and then?
Okay, the brainstorm and the
Right.
concept was right there. The town voted against the funding for it. And that was probably a 5-year period from about 96 to 2001. Then it took another 10 years for it to get built over where it is. So it probably took 15 years.
So
The idea that we needed a new library to it actually happening.
So we have a 7-year plan here, which, as we know, may not be enough time to do it, but to be optimistic and lay out a schedule, how does this sound? Establish a committee by 2024, 2024 to 2025, identify a site. That's a year to try to find the right location. And then in 2026, identify a funding source and apply for grants. and then 27 to 30, the final year of the plan, acquire and develop the site. Again, nothing to be held to, but laying it out in a timeline.
That's reasonable.
Okay, that's what I'll do. Okay. So that gets us down to, let's see.
Done for this town. That's like the last piece, I think. Not the last, but I wanna see my kids grow up. At least on this,
I'm gonna enjoy
well, okay, yeah.
it. Seriously.
So B, then, would I get rid of it? Because if we're looking to do a big multi-purpose townwide recreation complex in some location, should we not be encouraging developers to include recreation lands within subdivisions?
We should encourage that.
Okay,
It should be under a different objective.
Well, then George has.
You do that already.
Yeah. Well, it is part of it, but
We
it's
talked about that
ongoing.
last time.
It's already, open space is required, I thought they get away with 1 acre lots.
But the
Yeah.
land does not have to be for a playground or, I mean, and so I can name one where they won't even allow public access to it.
It's probably because it's owned by the people in the subdivision, which was allowed back then to do it. Some of the people still pay taxes on that land, that's open land, but it's
It's still
it's
allowed.
their open land.
It's still allowed. It's not and so,
okay. So that will stay as an ongoing item because you're encouraging it through open space residential development, and always a good thing to have open space.
Worked on.
Update conservation and recreation facilities. Update conservation lands and recreation facilities to comply with ADA. Has any of that been done? And that one is sort of not really well defined. And I know that there are some open space and conservation lands where you'll never be able to achieve ADA compliance. You can try to make lands more accessible, but to actually achieve ADA compliance requires that specific grades are met.
I say get that out of there. That does not mean I'm opposed to ADA compliance, but my comment is we need an ADA plan in town.
Yeah.
Right. And
My facility, my rec center is compliant already, but no, we need somebody. The town itself has so much ADA that needs to happen. I just feel like I don't know that here is where it should be.
And I think that if you were to develop a new community center,
Oh yeah, it would be built in as part of the architecture. Like
yeah,
that's
you try to make it ADA compliant in many different ways. It would probably have an accessible path around it and things like that. So
well, the fitness court has that sort of like drawn into the plans for the walkway to come up for the parking.
Yep.
It's flat to the ground for wheelchair access, etc. So like, that's sort of built in on a going forward basis. It's us retroing the town
Yep.
For compliance. And yeah, I think I'm with Ronnie on that one. I feel like our town just doesn't have the plans, like the engineers' plans, we just don't have that I think that's where the pursuit needs to be.
Yeah, and it might not even be possible on conservation land. So
Right.
I think that if there's a new vision now to develop this sort of complex, that complex will have a lot of accessibility built in as well as ADA compliance. So this one, again, not that anybody is opposed to ADA compliance, but this one might be able to be removed because realistically, I don't think it will happen on conservation lands in too
No.
many places. There's so few places where it could be done. Yeah, but if you're looking to develop an area in the next 5 to 10 years, you would want an ADA trail there, not in one of your conservation areas outside of town when that area is not even accessible for parking, never mind for the trail.
Never mind the trail. Yep. No,
Okay.
truth.
Okay, good. All right. Next one, number 5. We talked about this one and we discussed that if there were specific parcels that were known that the action should be based on specific parcels of unknown ownership, not a town-wide effort to try to turn all unknown parcels into open space land, because for many different reasons, it might not be feasible and it might not even be desirable unless those parcels have certain values for open space, in which case maybe we can identify 2 or 3 unknown parcels that are significant for open space and prioritize those rather than just have this
Yeah, blanket, just buy it all. Yeah, we don't need to do that. We don't need to
Oh.
add a whole bunch more, 6 by 6 foot spaces or whatever it is in betweens and et ceteras, et ceteras. That's unnecessary.
So I'm gonna write myself a note to see if there are any parcels of interest for open space that are of unknown ownership, and I'll work with the assessor and maybe with George to see if there are any that are even of interest, and if there's not, I'll remove this one altogether. If there are, we'll identify a couple of parcels that are of open space interest rather than just saying generally all unknown owner parcels.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Makes a lot more sense than just throwing that wide net out there.
Okay, does everybody agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it'd be nice if there was one that was perfect for a recreation complex, right?
Would be amazing. I'm coming up on 11 years in September.
Wow, yeah.
I got my building. We're working on the fitness campaigns coming back. It would be really awesome to give this town a complex.
Yeah, you're gonna get it done. It'll happen. This is the first step, right?
It would be really great before my last child at home, and I have 4 of them, is out of high school. He's a freshman next year. So maybe if we could, speed it right along, that'd be great. I have 4 and I already got rid of the other 3. They've already moved past that. So let's get a move on.
Okay, so moving down to goal G, a linked system of open space and recreation. Protect wildlife corridors by encouraging work. This is A now, under this one, 1A. Encourage and work with Mass Fish and Wildlife to purchase strategic parcels. That one has been done. Is it still ongoing, or is this now, are they at a point?
No.
We missed that, Jeff, whatever you said. It's ongoing.
Okay, so we'll keep it as ongoing and we'll refer to the corridors. This is where, Veronica, this is where we're gonna have to identify those corridors that North County Land Trust called out. And we can do that in the next week. Okay. Ongoing, the next one, I would imagine, to keep it as ongoing.
Well, I think you should specify 2023 to the life of this document, because it hasn't been ongoing. We haven't done it for the past 5 town meetings.
Okay, so I'll put 2023 to 2030 or
Yeah.
whatever the end date is. And the next one, Old Meeting House Park, that was, a lot of that was done right around the time of this last plan. I believe 2012 to 2014, 2015. Is that now accomplished, or are there still strategic parcels in that area?
There's one parcel, the Millbury parcel.
So should we change that to pursue the Millbury parcel?
Yep.
Yeah.
And is it okay to name that one specifically? is it something that's known and that the Concom and the town are working towards that? It's okay to name that as the Millbury parcel?
Nobody's working towards it right now.
Okay, but it's known that that's a parcel of interest. Should I give it a specific name or should I just say,
I know the town approached them probably within this time frame or a little bit after. The land trust approached them for this and for the Forest Legacy Grant application that was put in a couple years ago. And there was no response at that point.
okay, so I can either call it by name or I can say purchase the final remaining parcel to protect Old Meeting House Park from fragmentation and development.
You could say that, yes.
Okay.
And I would say the next one is ongoing.
Okay, perfect.
Not that anybody's looking at it right now, but
For a timeline for the final parcel at Old Meeting House Park, should that say 2024 to 26? Should it be ongoing? What do you think?
A park grant or a land grant of some sort, you know, to purchase,
Yep.
that might be real. But someone has to pay attention to it and do it.
Okay. So I'll add maybe the land grant wording into the phrasing here. I'll put maybe land and park or something, and then I'll say
Well, grants from EOEEA is typically what it is, yeah.
yep. I'll say the middle. I'll say the middle of the plan. So I'll give 2023 to 2025 or 6. 2023 to 2026, I guess.
Yeah, go to 2026.
Okay. And the next one is ongoing. So I'm gonna, unless we have anything else.
For funding source, CPA.
Which one is that?
Or E rather, E. Objective number 1, goal G, objective number 1, E. The Conservation Land Fund will never have enough money in it to do
Right.
what needs to be done. So unless the town starts putting, you know, 100,000 in a year, which is unrealistic. So put community preservation in. And that should actually be an objective somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be an action.
Oh, it's number 3 under goal J, so never mind. But yeah, the Conservation Land Fund will never hold enough money to do what needs to be done there.
Right. Yeah, that's something that would have to be done through, like you said, Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs grants, or Forest Legacy, Forest Stewardship grants, and maybe if there are any federal agricultural grants or an agricultural preservation restriction grant or something like that to accomplish those. But so for now, I'll just put land grants and maybe future CPA. But you're right, Conservation Land Fund would have to have quite a significant amount of money to purchase large parcels, and talking in the hundreds of thousands.
PRs or easements or development rights, anything like that.
Okay. Link municipal buildings and properties via trails. I think a trail between the senior housing and the senior center library complex, I believe it was done. Is that the trail that was worked on by Ray Jackson?
It is, but I've never walked it. I don't know that it's exactly complete. I think it's been laid out, but I don't know that anybody is doing it.
So I'm going to write complete or partially complete by Ray Jackson. God rest his soul, a great guy, and trail steward, and buddy of mine that I worked with on some trail work, passed away just in the past year. But I think he may have done that. And I can try to find out, and if anybody is aware or knows who to ask if that was actually completed or if it's still in progress. And we can change if it's completed, I'll cross it off. If it's in progress, we'll change the wording to complete the trail that was laid out.
I think that's probably the wording.
Okay. Okay. All right. The next one, B, is still, I think, ongoing, and it makes sense. We've talked about it a couple of times already. That's having to do with linking trail systems by strategic parcels. Use acquisition of interest in land to preserve land. I think that's always a good one to have because it shows that private ownership can maintain and that large purchases and ownership by the town don't always have to be the only way to protect land. A CR or an agricultural restriction or a trail easement can sometimes be done to accomplish the same goal. So we'll leave that one as ongoing if everybody agrees. The next one is linking state and trail town systems together. Ongoing for strategic parcels.
C is the one that I would look at there.
C.
Yeah.
Isn't that done?
Not exactly. Sherry Bean had the regional trail network for a while, but that kind of petered out when, when COVID hit. And I don't know that I would put ongoing there, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to put ongoing, and I'm going to change the wording a little bit to continue to develop and seek connections to regional trails that could be linked to towns and trails such as the Squanicook Rail Trail.
That works for me.
Right.
Okay, so now we're moving down to page 89, goal H. Oh, this one here, in the last meeting, now again, this is not to be negative, but we talked about there had been no movement in this particular goal or action from the last plan, and that the problem was still unresolved, and it might be that it's...
I disagree with that.
You do? Okay, so great, let's get...
Our lease with the district for Spalding School allows the rec department to use Spalding School. We removed the baseball field from the lease, so that's now under the town. We don't have a committee because that's not really workable.
Yeah, that's what we really talked about, Ronnie. We talked about that it's not a relationship. What we've done is we've taken these things. We don't have a committee to work on this stuff. We've just, going back to what the town owns and taking care of the property that we own. Because it wasn't there was no true, I don't know, the action things were just not, they were done, but investigate, have the board, we did all that was irrelevant, came out irrelevant. We ended up working through the lease instead. So
Move this.
yeah,
So
it doesn't need.
Is it it's accomplished then?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry if I misspoke. I hope I didn't put a negative light on it. I didn't mean to if I did.
No, I was just clarifying for Ronnie that was, we basically said at this point, it is unnecessary. We've gone through the steps, we've done the things, and this is how we decided to resolve it.
Right.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so that can go away.
Okay,
I don't know what that does to goal H. And
well, I think we said the same thing about goal H, that in general, the goal had been accomplished to the level that it could be. And so I think goal H will get removed. The lettering of these things might shift, but the content will remain the same and everything that we've agreed on and removed.
Yeah, I'm looking at what Carol gave me at the beginning of the meeting, and goal H is Xed out. I agree with that. Get
Okay.
ready.
All right. So then that brings us down to goal I, provide information to the public regarding recreation facilities and open space. And the first one here is develop a map of public parking areas for access to the Squanicook River. That one we talked about, that may have been accomplished in the kiosks that were created for Adams Dam and a couple of other sites. And also along the Squanicook River Rail Trail. The parking areas were identified on those kiosks, and that those maps could be made available on the website. So it almost seems like that first one, objective, and the first action under the objective are accomplished. Should I reword it or should I remove it?
I think remove it.
Okay.
We do need more parking, but that's addressed in a different goal.
Okay. Okay, and the second one is educating the community about the importance of protecting wildlife. Develop a brochure for inclusion on the website. There are some brochures that I noticed on the Conservation Commission's website, so that may have been partially accomplished. I'm wondering, should I change that to ongoing? Because getting good information out onto the website is always a good goal, or is that something I should remove, or should we put a date for getting this information up there?
With ongoing.
Okay.
I know that Jessica put up some brochures that had to do with stormwater. I'm not so sure about wildlife. I can't remember. James, you might know better than me.
All right. Well, that's good. It's ongoing anyways, because I think they had said there were more things they wanted to get up on the website and continue to do that to what was already there. So we'll keep it as ongoing. Develop a page on the town website devoted to open space and recreation. It seems as though a lot of open space information and work has been done around the Squanicook Rail Trail, around Adams Dam, in a lot of other areas, some signage that went up in some of the sensitive habitat areas and things like that. But I think this goal, this objective and action are still relevant and still needed, in that a lot of the information can be sort of compiled in one place and put on an open space page, because right now there isn't a specific dedicated page for open space and trails and things like that, recreation, outdoor type recreation, open space recreation. So if you guys think that's still a good thing to have on the website, we can keep it as an action, and we can put a timeline of 2024 to 2025 on there if you guys think that makes sense.
I'd make it 2023 to 2025.
Okay. Perfect. And develop a map of open space, including trails, access points of access, and put on a printable format. Some of that was done again with the kiosks, but there is probably some more work that needs to be done. So I think we'll keep that one on there, and we'll give it the same timeline, 23 to 25. And then we go down to ensuring transparency for projects involving development of town-owned facilities and properties. Keep the website updated and encourage use by residents, selectmen, and land use boards. I'm not sure what this one's referring to. It's a carryover from the last plan. But transparency for projects involving development of town-owned facilities and properties. Is that still something that's needed? Or I've noticed that I wasn't around in 2013, but the website seems to be posting a lot of information on the rail trail and on the the new canoe access at Harbor Pond, and also on the Safe Streets and Spaces grant. There was good information out there on that, and where the town was going on the different plans and their sort of vision and goals. So has that been accomplished, or is that still needed to keep on here as ongoing, just as a good thing to carry forward?
I would just leave it as ongoing. I mean, it's kind of a good thing to do.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know that it isn't something I don't know.
We'll keep it as ongoing. I mean, it's always, transparency and keeping the public informed of town projects is a good thing, I guess. So we'll keep it on there. Okay, so that moves us down to the final page, page 90, Goal J, creating revenue from recreation facilities and open space to offset the loss of tax monies. Developing timber harvest plans for town properties, appointing a town forester to manage town properties and logging. And that one was listed as 2015. I don't know if that was done or if that's still an interest.
Meeting House Park was logged in roughly 2015, 2014, maybe it was. Those monies were put in a fund that's under the control of the Conservation Commission, but it can only be used for Meeting House Park. I don't know why that is. I don't know why the fund was created that way. But apparently it was. So anyhow.
Okay.
So it didn't really offset the loss of tax monies in any way, shape, or form. But it did bring in money to the town, and it is in one of the conservation funds.
Okay, so that was, in a sense, it was sort of accomplished, at least for Meeting House Park. And you said right around that time frame, it said 2015 here. You think it was done around that time or just before?
It might have been 2013.
Okay.
Actually. It might have been earlier. We did a piggyback cut. We, the land trust, did a piggyback cut with Old Meeting House Park. So the land, because we're adjacent, and the landing was in Old Meeting House Park. So that's why if you go in at the top of Old Meeting House Road and you walk down what was Old Meeting House Road and you look to the left, there's an open field. That was the landing.
Okay. So do you think this is something that's still important and should be ongoing, or?
I'm assuming there's a forestry plan. They use Bay State Forestry. And I'm assuming there's a forestry plan for that parcel. I don't know for sure.
Okay.
And it was about 10 years, and typically you reevaluate every 10 years.
Okay. So we'll keep the developing timber harvest or forest management plans as a goal ongoing.
Yeah, I would just say ongoing on that.
Okay. And the reevaluate sale of unusable town properties.
I would just say evaluate, not reevaluate.
Okay. Yep.
And I would make that ongoing.
Ongoing. Okay. I have some notes from the previous meeting that this one was crossed off in the goals and objectives because it was something that they saw more as a, something for the select board or the planning board, in particular the select board, I guess, to be looking at, and and maybe the land use office, whether properties are, of value to the town and whether or not they should be sold off. So it was crossed off in the goals and objectives. Should we also cross off the action? Is it not really related to open space because it doesn't specify? It talks about selling off land with no value to the town to be sold. But it doesn't say if it means to be sold as open space or to just be sold. And I'm just wondering, it got crossed off in the goals and objectives. Should we cross off the action?
The number 2, yes.
2A.
2A, yeah.
Okay.
Would everybody agree to cross it off?
For number 2, yes.
Yeah.
Number
2A,
2,
okay.
reevaluate sale of unusable town properties, research properties and titles.
Evaluate.
Yeah, are we not evaluating that? Do we not want to sell unused parcels of
sell it.
property?
Yeah, I know. It was crossed off in the goals and objectives in the last meeting. So I'm asking, to be consistent, should we remove it from the action? In the last meeting, it was suggested to cross it off as a objective in the goals and objectives under J.
Well, here's the thing. It is to have this plan or any plan, like this plan or the master plan or the housing production plan, for any of them to work, you have to have money. We don't have a town grant writer as such. So it's only if someone out of the kindness of their heart decides to volunteer their time that grants get written.
So why wouldn't we sell unusable land?
I would say we would sell it, that we.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say so too. I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying it was crossed off at the last meeting.
Because I think it was because if you sell the land, doesn't mean that it's gonna go to recreation or to open space.
That's what I would say, that
Well, then
the,
that's what needs to be designated. Don't get rid of it, just to add that part in. For the purpose of recreation facilities and open space care.
correct. So
Like-
you have to target where the monies go when you make the sale.
Right.
So with monies targeted to support the open space plan. If you don't do that, it goes into the general fund and that's the end. You don't benefit.
Right. No, it needs to go into the community complex capital funds. That's where it needs to go. So we should just add that little thing in there.
I agree.
To generate funds for open space, that's how I should change it. So change it from reevaluate to evaluate, and then research properties of the town owned with no value to the town to be sold to generate funds for open space.
Open space and a recreation center.
And yeah, it's for the open space and community complex.
No, yeah, but
How do we phrase it? Like, that's what I'm saying. We don't want it to just like, oh, let's put it to the
Open space
vernal
and-
pools.
Open space and recreation purposes.
No,
community or the community center.
just the community center. That's what we're pushing for. Just that. That's where we're getting funds. Because the other stuff we don't have, the other stuff is, a lot of it is already, there's organizations in place, grants that we're already looking at, or grants that already exist for that sort of thing. We've already done partial engineering for it, or the research is already in there. We already have a conservation committee that's taking care of this, that, or the other, and we've already got a tree warden for this, that, or the other. We need the funds to provide for our families' recreation.
So to generate funds for a community rec center.
Complex. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Straight out.
Okay.
We want to attract families. We want to attract commerce. We want to attract stewardship. We need this for the town.
So should I change that in the goals under J as well?
Yeah.
We have to pay for Veronica's pool.
That's right. 6 lanes, baby.
Okay.
She's smiling.
Okay.
Get on board.
Mhm.
The goal J number 3, adopt CPA, Community Preservation Act to support open space. Consider a third attempt at town meeting to pass CPA. Would this be changed to a fourth attempt or a fifth attempt?
I think I was speaking out of turn. Veronica knows it better than me.
What? Fourth attempt.
Fourth? Okay.
The
Fourth
third
attempt.
one was in May.
Okay. And that one, should for a date, should I put, you said 2024?
2023 to 2024.
Okay.
I start my campaign in July.
All right. And I mentioned that there's a way to just simply calculate based on home value what the actual, for the different rates, you can calculate what the actual fee would be
Already.
per a homeowner based on the value of their particular home or ranges. And I've started to play with it and generate this table for another town's open space plan that I was working on. And I'd be happy to share that with you as you get closer if you want to try to generate some educational outreach where homeowners can get a good understanding of what the actual cost will be, because sometimes it's less than what they think.
We already did it, Jeff.
Okay, thumbs up, good work. All right, so the next one, investigate need for benefactors for development of rec facilities. Publicize articles in the local newspaper regarding the need for funds. Is this still, this was crossed off in the goals as well? Should it be?
Nobody even uses a newspaper anymore.
Yeah, but it's a law. It's state. It's law. You have to.
I'm just saying, like, if we wanted a goal in there, it would be something like, you know, seeking out a college intern as a social media, you know, maven in order to generate interest and, you know, comment.
Yeah.
To provide momentum. Like, it's not, nobody's publicizing something in the newspaper to try and find a benefactor. If they want a benefactor, they're going online and searching one out by, you know, creating a brand, and that's what we would need.
And I don't know that, I'm not sure about solicitation and to seek a benefactor and all of that. It might be best to just avoid this one because I don't know what the legalities are. But typically, if there is a benefactor in town who wants to donate, that person usually knows where they want to put their money and what they want to put it towards.
Yeah,
So
I don't think that needs to be a objective necessarily. Like I said, we could do an objective of, you know, creating a program for interns to you know, promote and generate marketing and social media materials for open space and recreation in the town of Townsend.
Yep.
Because college interns can do it and they're smart and they're savvy, but we need an actual program with the guidelines and how to do that.
There's a lot.
But there's a lot involved in that. And like I said, a college intern would be fantastic. We don't have to hire somebody long-term permanent. College
Right.
intern would be great, but we would actually need to create that, investigate and create a plan for interns
Yep.
to do that. And then that would be the, you know, the action would be getting the social media and the marketing out there to,
Yeah.
again, promote this.
I think we covered those and a couple of other ones earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to look for a benefactor and publicize in newspapers.
Okay. So
We don't want to do that.
the last one is goal J, number 5. Investigate grants to develop and repair recreation facilities. Hire a grant writer with salary built into the grants. Is that still, that one should just remain as ongoing, or should we put a date? I know there was a grant writer and then that position, the person left, and then the new person, I don't know the details, so I don't want to speak too much to it, but there was some, I guess that position may come about again, or that person may take on some of the grant writing responsibilities, but that as of right now, there wasn't a grant writer. So should we keep it in here as an ongoing thing to have a grant writer?
Again, I don't know what's changed since town meeting, but there was budgeted for a 10-hour grant writer in the operating budget under the selectmen's part of the budget. And it's been rolled into the housing job in land use. It's not posted yet, but it should be posted pretty soon. I know I have to review the listing for the Affordable Housing Trust. And I think the Housing Authority has reviewed it. So
Okay.
the grant writer will be part of that position.
Okay, so I'm going to change it. Instead of saying hiring grant writer, I'm going to say utilize grant writer and, you know, to pursue grant opportunities for open space and in particular the development of a community rec center.
How about, I mean, really, why don't we just go for the gold here and say, how about some full-time staff for the recreation department that can take classes in grant writing instead of hiring a whole nother position? That's all. Just changing some of the staff that I currently have temporary, seasonal to seasonal to seasonal into full-time staff and just get them trained, pay for the classes and have them trained to do grant writing. That would be awesome too. Just saying.
I got in here without talking to the select board first.
I know.
So.
But if we have a recreation complex, we are going to need full-time staff at some point.
That's
And that should be in place now, or should start to be part of that framework that's developed.
Yep.
So utilize grant writer to pursue grants and seek further opportunities for staff and staff training related to grants and grant writing.
Perfect.
There
That's
we go.
great.
All
I
right.
like that. I like that wording because it's true. I just feel like there's a lot of education opportunities for our staff to expand on what they currently know or do to assist in these sort of things. And I think that we should take those opportunities if we have the chance to do so. Because with all the, honestly, like, I love that we've got a part-time 10-hour, did you say, Ronnie, 10 hours?
10 hours, yeah.
Yeah, grant writing. But with all of the departments that the town has that need grants,
Oh, I think we should have a full-time.
we need a
grant.
full-time one. Or each department needs their own educated, at least, you know, not college educated necessarily, but class educated to write grants.
But the money isn't there in the.
I got you.
With that, and that's why we're 10 hours.
Yep.
So
No. Oh my.
Yeah, I guess
not enough just to support, I mean, it really isn't enough, but you have to have the support of the town for the positions, and we don't have that. So,
okay, so I'm going to just put it as seek opportunities to pursue additional grant writing capabilities, including increased staff hours, and training.
I think that's perfect.
All right, awesome.
That leaves it wide open for possibilities.
That brings us to the end of the previous. That's the update of the previous action plan, and the other goals. I believe L is removed from the draft and is incorporated into the previous one with recreation and the new goal for the rec center. And then that leaves the two final ones, the one on agricultural opportunities. I will work to create a couple of actions for that. And the actions and objectives are going to come right from the MVP plan for the final one related to sustainable development principles. It's listed as N, but the numbering might change or the lettering might change. The agricultural one, we already have ideas related to a farmer's market, a co-op or a CSA, community gardens, and building relationships with the local 4-H group. So those will turn into probably 2 actions. So we're through everything. We've discussed the couple that will be added, and there's still opportunity to review this all another time. The next draft is just a draft, but there's also public review and a town review associated with the next draft. So the final draft won't come until after that. So we'll have opportunity to still comment on these. But my work is now cut out for me. I'll get in and update the draft and get everything prepared between now and the 15th. Thank you all very, very, very much for all the work. It's getting late, but we got a ton accomplished. So thanks for all the input.
Okay, on Thursday, for the public forum? Do you?
Tell me again, what's the date for the public forum?
June 22nd,
It's
June
6
22nd.
What time?
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. And it's now been posted, I believe, at double check. I've sent all the information to Beth Faxon, and I believe she's posted it and everything. So there's a flyer and a public notice. Everything's in place. She's booked the time and date, I believe, in the calendar. And the only thing left to do, I think, is an email will probably go out to local stakeholders. So if anybody wants or has a particular group or entity, organization, youth sports group, say, anything.
Yeah,
like that.
all the local groups, the rail trail, any nonprofit in the area.
Yep.
You would probably have an email
Yeah,
list.
I think they were actually, I went over the list that Beth sent out and it did have the sports teams and the various departments and stuff like that. I couldn't think of anything else to add in, but I'll take a second look at it.
That'd be great. And if you know of any contacts that are missing from it, that Beth was going to fill some in that I didn't know. But if there's anything missing, collaboratively, we can get them in there and get that out because it's about 2 weeks away now. So we want to get that information out. It's been posted, but we want to get it out to the stakeholders too. So great. Thanks for doing that. And yeah, that's the next step, and that's where we're at. And I'll have a draft prepared and ready for the 15th. It will go up on the website and be downloadable for review. And it will be presented at that meeting on the 22nd. And there'll be a 1-week comment period from the 15th. 14-day comment period from the 15th to the 29th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Jeff. And can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move that we adjourn the meeting at whatever time it is.
I can't read it, I think. I don't know.
A second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we have to take a roll call vote. Emmy, how do you
Yes.
vote? James?
Yes.
Ron? Yes. George? Carol Hoff says yes. Have a good night.